Hello again, Tenno, robotic voice because my mic is still in shambles. Today we focus on Harrow, the ultimate weapon Warframe only second to Mesa. Support, damage, and survivability. Harrow can do it all. From red crits to overshields and healing. Provide your allies with energy as you shred and tear through enemies with ease. Trust me, there is no better feeling than seeing your whole screen filled with red. Today, I have two builds for Harrow, a regular build and a hemlinth build. Both of these builds are meant for higher level play. If you want a beginner build, don't be afraid to ask. Let's get into his abilities first, because I know when I first got him I could not stop dying. His abilities are not very complex, but they synergize so perfectly that hemlinth isn't needed and would actually be frowned upon. Let's take a look at his passive. His passive allows his overshield capacity to be doubled, and he will always start a mission at full energy. His passive ties very well into his other abilities. I will explain why as we go. Harrow is a shield-gating warframe, meaning that his main source of survivability is his shields. We will be using his abilities to keep ourselves alive with shield gating. His first ability, Condemn, chains enemies and stuns them. How long they are stunned scales with ability duration. Condemn is Harrow's source of shields. Every enemy hit by Condemn will give you an amount of shield scaling with ability strength. When enemies are stunned, they are open to headshots. Harrow is great with incarnate weapons that require headshots to charge their incarnate mode. I use the burst in incarnate most because of how easy it is to charge. Condemn does have an augment, but we are not using it right now. It is an okay support augment though. It allows allies to gain the buff of Harrow's 3 while attacking chained enemies. On to his second ability, Penance, beat yourself for buffs. Harrow hits himself twice, sacrificing his shields for fire rate, reload speed, and healing when you get kills. All 3 buffs scale with ability strength. The more shields you have, the more duration you gain. The max duration is 120 seconds. How much duration you get is also scaled on strength. His third and most important ability, Thurible. This ability is the glue holding it all together. Let me explain. Harrow's passive goes well with his first ability, which grants him an insane amount of overshield. Harrow's first ability goes well with the second, which grants you buffs because you have an insane amount of shields. Now his third pairs with the first. You see, somehow you need to get energy. That's what his third does. Let your chain swing around you, and a number will appear on the right side of your screen. That number is how much energy you will generate upon enemy killed. You can keep swinging your chain until you've run out of energy. How fast the number goes up scales with ability strength and casting speed. Now what does this have to do with his one? You see, let's say you have swung your chain until you are gaining 25 energy per kill. On a headshot that number multiples by 4, making 25 to 100, so Condemn being able to stun enemies and make them vulnerable to headshots is the most cinematic synergy in the game. Thurible also has an augment, warding Thurible, but again, I am not using it in today's builds. It's not mid, but it's not super good either, just personal preference. Last but definitely not least, the cherry on top of it all, Covenant. This is the only ability with little synergy to the other 3 mentioned, but it's such a game changer you need to keep it in your kit. Covenant makes Harrow and allies in his range invulnerable to all damage, but absorbing it and turning that damage into critical chance. At its max damage absorbed, you will get plus 50% critical chance, and on headshots, you will get to 100% critical chance. In this next clip, I'm going to use an epitaph that has its base critical chance. As you can see, I am still dealing red crits. This bonus is a flat bonus and adds to your weapon critical chance. So if you already have 100% critical chance, you will now have 300% on headshots for the duration. How long this effect lasts scales with duration. Although I do not recommend stacking Harrow with duration. The headshot multiplier of 4 cannot be changed in any way, unfortunately, but no worries. Harrow does have an augment for this ability, which I will be showing in the builds. The notes of the builds, just a general how to play Harrow, because again, if you do not play him carefully, you will die. Yes, you will. So to begin, the actual builds you will see will have a minimum of 200% strength. This is to upkeep shields and penance. Now in the game, what you want to do is spam Condemn. I mean, that button should be damn near broken. Make sure you use Covenant before using Penance, or else you're asking to die. When you use Covenant, you should use Penance, then after that use Thurible while you're invulnerable. The sequence should look something like this. If you do it correctly, you will have infinite energy and skillful survivability. Now let's get into the builds. First, the two weapons I am using for all of these are Dual Toxicist and Burstin Incarnon. Here is the build for the Burstin Incarnon. The evolution is completely up to you, but this build should work for anything. Here is the Dual Toxicist build. Again, the evolution is completely up to you. Those were the weapon builds. Now let's move on to Harrow and the builds I have in store. But before that, could you take the time to subscribe to help me grow this channel? A like would be greatly appreciated. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment as well. Thank you. Alright, let's continue with the first build being the regular, casuals, works for everything build. 200% or more power strength for the shields. If you prefer, you can go less duration. Arcane Avenger for the critical chance, and Arcane Rage for the primary damage on headshots. Range works good with Condemn. You can slow down long hallways and corridors. Nothing fancy about this build, but it gets the job done. The reason I say duration isn't good on Harrow is because when you use Covenant you are first invulnerable, then you can take damage again after a certain time. The thing about that is if you have the second part of Covenant active for more than 30 seconds you're most likely going to die, because Covenant is Harrow's way of surviving. And he needs to be able to activate the ability often. That being said, let's get into the second build. The hemlinth build. The ability of choice will be Pillage, and it will be replacing Condemn. I did say it would be frowned upon to replace any of his abilities, but the only thing Harrow lacks is the ability to armor strip. Pillage does exactly what Condemn does, if not better, but it can also armor strip. In my last video I stated that you needed 328% ability strength to armor strip, but that is only if you want to fully armor strip in one cast of Pillage. Anything below 328% will armor strip into cast. It's a small difference, but trust me, it's a good DPS increase. Here is the build, Molt augmented this time for 60% more ability strength once you reach to 150 kills, Arcane Avenger for critical chance on weapons. Stretch instead of overextended, because I realize when you pillage everything on the map you won't have much to gain, and the power strength is needed. All in all, Harrow is a great frame. He isn't super versatile, but if there's a will, there's a way. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe, comment, and like the video if you enjoyed or took any type or inspiration from these builds. I'll see you in the void, Tenno.